this is really the role of the writer in the technology company is so important because of that, because we advocate for the user, and we get to do this either if it's a user guide, or if it's a video. Um, and I think it was one of the easy things to put myself in the user's shoes, as I did with students. And so important, because we know that in the technology company, um, product managers or developers get so deep in the technical part that sometimes they might not consider that too much. And I think it's totally understandable, because it's not so related to their job. But
Mhm.
that's when writers and UX teams really can assist on that, and provide a very good product.
Welcome to the Knowledgebase Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Good day, everyone. Our guest today for Knowledgebase Ninjas podcast is Beatriz Mejia, technical writer at Ben Fatto. So, welcome, Bea, to this podcast episode. How are you doing today?
Thanks, I'm great. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great, great. So, it's a pleasure to have you in this episode. And before we proceed any further, would you like to talk a little bit more about yourself? How did you end up in this career, and how's your journey been so far?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So my journey had a rough start, I would say, my professional journey. When I graduated high school, I had no idea what to pursue. I was completely lost and so young at the time. And throughout high school, the only subject I was good at was English. But at the time, I didn't know what I could do with that. Um, so I took a chance with graphic design, because I saw the classes, and I thought I was creative and I could pursue something in that area. So I really enjoyed the lessons, and I think college was a great experience for me. But when it was time to get into practice and to get a job, I was still confused about how I can pursue on that, and if it was the right fit for me. So growing up, I had this dream to live abroad, and I went to live abroad in the USA on the au pair program. So I lived a year abroad in the USA, and that was really like life changing for me, not only personally but professionally. I think it really shaped me to get started, and it was a really like changing experience for me. And when I was there, I really connected with the language, and I knew I wanted to do something with English. And when I look back, I see that since a young teenager, I was always connected with English and with languages in general, in TV or music. So, um, but then when I came home from the au pair program, we know that when you live abroad and you come home, you know that maybe you could be a English teacher or take a couple of classes as a gig. And so I did. And as only a gig, it was supposed to be temporary, but I actually really fell in love with teaching. And I was connected with English, so I was doing something that I really liked. So I studied English and teaching, and I had the opportunity to work with different methodologies in different schools, until one day, colleague connected, and she reached out to me and she said, um, I'm working at this company, and do you know anyone who could be interested in the technical writing area? And I didn't know what she was talking about, so she gave me a brief introduction on the area. um, So I said, hey, yeah, I am interested on that. It sounds like what I'm looking for, which is working with languages and writing, and the opportunity to be creative with languages. So I did the interview, I passed the interview, and I had this amazing first experience working with this amazing company. I'm no longer at that job now. I'm working in a different company, but it was the great first start that I could ask for. And now I'm able to combine these two passions I have, which are working with languages and being creative and having the opportunity to translate complex subjects, which I did as a teacher, but now I do through documents. And yeah, it's been great.
Great, that's a great introduction, Pia, and I really appreciate the opportunities you've been looking forward, and I think you got the right opportunity. But can you also share some insights on how your background in English teaching has influenced your approach to technical writing? And are there any unique skills or perspective that you brought to the field as a result?
Yeah. Um, as a teacher, it's when I see the skills for both teaching and writing, I can definitely see some similarities. So one of the things that it was easy in this transition was the fact that I was translating complex subjects and topics. So I remember as a teacher really thinking about how I can teach different styles of learners, something that is supposed to be difficult and sometimes even boring. Um, and today it's essentially the same. So I feel that having had this background in education in the classroom, it was one of the easy things to deal with as a writer. So I have to think about the users, and especially in technology, because internally in the company, we have a big number of individuals that are focusing so much in the technical solutions and how to provide this product in a very efficient way. Um, but they are sometimes not considering how learners are going to actually go through that as a learner's journey, if we think about that. So I think this is really the role of the writer in the technology company is so important because of that, because we advocate for the user, and we get to do this either if it's a user guide, or if it's a video. um, and I think it was one of the easy things to put myself in the user's shoes, as I did with students. And so important, because we know that in the technology company, um, product managers or developers get so deep in the technical part that sometimes they might not consider that too much. And I think it's totally understandable, because it's not so related to their job. But that's when writers and UX teams really can assist on that, and provide a very good product.
Absolutely, you rightly said language is something that needs a good teacher to teach because it could
Hmm.
break the law for that language, right? So it
Yeah.
was very well said, Pia. Um,
Hmm.
Now, definitely transitioning to a new field can be challenging. Could you share some of the key challenges you faced during your transition to technical writing world? And you might have slightly touched upon how you managed that very well with your teaching background, but is there something that others can also pick up?
Yeah. Totally. um yeah, the challenges are still coming. And at first, I think one of the biggest challenges I had was, um, how am I supposed to write about this huge, complex product I've just heard today?
Mhm.
Um, and it was really a struggle. And I was so scared at the time because the first product I had to document was this really complex billing product, which was really old and with so many different features, so helpful to clients. But for me as a writer to document, I was really overwhelmed. I was lucky enough to have a very supportive manager, and I reached out to him. And because at the time I didn't have any background in technology whatsoever, and I spoke to him, and he came clean to me. He said, "Hey, nobody knows everything about this product. Everybody is still learning the ropes, and every release there are different features, and the market changes, and people get in and get out. So don't what he told me was essentially, you have to speak up, you have to talk to people, you have to ask your questions, and this is still something I do. And this advice really is one of the first things that I think I would say to people that are getting started. You have to speak up, you have to ask your questions, and of course with experience you learn how to make the better or right questions. At the beginning, you just don't even know how to start. But then what I did, and I think what it's really important, is just you have to do your homework in terms of studying. You just have to do some research. Don't be afraid to ask, but do your research. And with experience, everything gets easier in terms of knowing more about the product. But one thing that really was challenging was the fact that they are like, this is so complex, I don't master that. How am I going to um, translate that if I don't even know everything? So it was really hard. But deep down, I think everybody in a project or in a company has that feeling, and it's just like common sense to me that everybody's learning together. And if you are in a team that is really supportive, you just focus on doing your job and doing your best. Do your research. Something also that I think it's really important, and try to find the stakeholders that could be really helpful to you as a writer. The company that I work today has different stakeholders, but now I know, of course, with time, but just simply asking people, you get to know the stakeholders that are more willing or are more into the documentation, so you can just get allies to work on your side. And when you have these people and you really dive deep into research, you get more comfortable, and then you don't get so overwhelmed by how complex and hard documenting can be.
Very true. So just ask more questions and don't be shy or put off by big problems. Maybe take it as a small fraction.
Yes, definitely. Especially transitioning, because it can be really overwhelming, because you think that you're going back to square one. And this was also a feeling that I had. You think I have to learn everything from day one. But I think every background people have, even if it's only college, if you're just out of college and you are going to pursue a technical writing career, you have abilities from your previous experience that really are going to help you. So just don't take that for granted. There is something that you can take as your advantage to pursue any career. I think any transition, your background is key for you. I mean, it has shaped you to come this far. So it's not like you are going back to square one. I think it's what shaped you and your experience. And of course, you are going to use that at some point. So just take a day at a time, and look out for people that can help you with. And with time, I think everything gets easier.
Right. So just talking about the current job market, right? So in this current job market, what do you think are some of the benefits of switching to technical writing career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the first things that it was really appealing to me was the flexibility. Um, how I could, it was my first job working remotely, but it was something that I always wanted for me as my professional career. So I think that's the first one, the flexibility to get to work from different locations, and you get to balance your personal life with your career. But also I think one of the very important things is to um understand if you match that lifestyle, I think the technical writing market and the technical writing job per se is a balance between a lot of research, as I said, which is connecting with people and knowing how to ask the right questions and being creative in a way that you are looking for gaps maybe in the document. Um, but also, there is like this other half of the time which you just have to sit down and write. Um, so you combine those two aspects of technical writing, and you get to do this from your house or from an office, and you have this flexibility. So I think really the technical writing area provides this type of balance, which personally for me it was great because I do feel that I have these two sides. One that is a more talkative, and I want to communicate with people and connect with people. But then there's the other one, which I get to like get in my bubble and just write and think about all of the things I have to convey. So I think doing that remotely is one of the greatest pros for working in this area at the moment, because you can combine these styles and you get to do it from your home. So I think that's really like one of the best things that the area offers today.
Great. So, just in continuation to the same question, often switching to technical writing also involves mastering new tools and technologies that keep coming to the market, right? So, how does this continuous learning process contribute to your professional growth?
Hmm. Yeah. As a teacher, I'm a big supportive or of continuous learning, and I personally think this is great and something that every area should advocate to, because um, especially today in the world that is changing like every year, every day. Um, we have to keep on doing our homework and studying. So not only for technical writing, but for other areas too. I do want to say that it can be overwhelming to imagine that you just left college and you think I'm all set, I'm never going back to school again. I think it's important to take breaks and prioritize a couple of things depending on what you're going through, so you don't freak out on how much you have to catch up, because it can be tremendously overwhelming to try to study and to catch up on all the study you have to do. But certainly is something that I think every writer has to keep in mind. Technologies advance so fast. You have to try to catch up on that. But luckily, I think one of the things that, especially now, AI has brought so many great ways to learners, and learners, I include myself, and writers, to get to acquire knowledge in a fast way. Now there are so many different styles of courses that you can take, so you can do it in your own way, your own learning style. Before, I think it was just like regular school when you had to go to a place and just sit down and take classes. But now you have workshops, you have boot camps, you have um, short courses, and I think it's really important for a continuous learning to find which style do I learn the best? Like, what style am I more familiar with? And once you do that, and of course, I think psychologists can really help you getting to know that, because sometimes we don't know. I have no idea what style I learned the best. So how can I do that? Psychologists really help people to understand what learning style fits them the best. So once you find that, you just um, check online the things that can help you the most. That way, I think it's a really game changing experience, because then studying is not going to be a pain. It's not going to be a struggle. It's going to be your own style, and then you can really take advantage of that, and it's going to contribute so much, not only professionally but personally too. I think knowledge is power. So um, as you get to work with new tools and technologies, studying is really going to be an ally for you.
Very, very true. I mean, keeping up to date is not only with the technical writing field, it applies to any areas you want to excel. And as you rightly said, we have plenty of options now to acquire the required skill set and latest technologies. It's just that we've got to keep our eyes and ears open to grab
Yeah.
them.
Totally.
True. Let's move on to our rapid fire round questions, Via. So, can you share some of the recent documentation related resource you have consumed? Any books or web-based materials that you can share with the audience today?
Yeah, sure. So I really like to, one of the biggest resources I personally have been using so much is the Google writing style. I think this is just a very good style guide, not only for starters, but for people that have been working in the business maybe a little bit more.
Okay. All right. So, what's that one word that comes to your mind when someone says documentation?
I'm going to go with the structure.
Perfect. My last question is, what is the one piece of documentation related advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
I think be patient. Um, Everything will work out. Don't be too anxious about everything. Things will, time is everything, and time fix everything. Don't get too attached to small things, and just, let go of some things that you truly believe, because life changes so much, and yeah, everything, just like take one day at a time, I guess. um, it's a time that you feel so pressured and you feel overwhelmed by things, but time, I think, is the best medicine. And eventually, if you work hard, if you have the right mindset, and if you're dedicated, things will work out. And yeah, I think that's it.
Again, very well put out that piece of very important information and message out there, Pia. So, yeah, with this young crowd, I think that's something that needs to be taken very seriously.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right. So, I think we have come to the end of our podcast, but is there anything else you would like to add that I missed to ask as part of the questions? Please feel free.
Yeah, I don't think so. Just thank you so much for the opportunity. I think this is a great platform, especially for the young writers that are just starting off at the business. And yeah, I really like to help out. And if anyone watching uh, would like to reach out, I'm gladly willing to catch up and to share some of my experience offline and help out. Maybe the best I can. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
It's indeed a great pleasure to have you be as part of this episode. And there are quite a lot of interesting information shared, especially from someone who's switched a career from a different angle to a different dimension. So
Hmm.
definitely, it's a great episode to listen to. So all the very
Yeah.
best for your engagements, current one and whatever is planned in future. And hopefully, we will meet again soon as part of the series.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great.
You.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge-Based Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.